Gabe in the chat says, I find that I sort of hide in the creative flowing part of the process, being a bit scared of how to bring something effectively into the real world. How do you transition into these really cool thought processes you've outlined today? Or is it easy and it's just me that struggles with this? No, it's not just you that struggles with this. So, like, the secret really is that I've been doing this for a really long time. It's interesting your choice of words of hiding in this creative area, right? It can be so kind of intoxicating. It feels good to be just sort of exploring and experimenting and trying things out. It's so creatively exciting for your own well-being and your own kind of feelings. This language of hiding is really telling, right? Because the thing that you are finding difficulty with is committing to making something that is going to go out into the world, right? If you're here and you're developing stuff and you're in this creative space, it's like a cocoon, right? And you're safe inside the cocoon, and there's lots of really beautiful developmental things that can happen inside the cocoon. The cocoon is where the caterpillar turns into the butterfly, right? It's an amazing space for you to grow yourself, but it's no good spending all this time transforming yourself into a butterfly if you don't then break through that cocoon and go out into the world and show everyone how beautiful you've become, and to show them this transformation that you've been through, and to show them your creativity and your ideas, and really kind of own that and say, this is what I believe in, and these are my this is me, and this is my creativity. This is something that I made that says something about who I am and communicates something about my perspective on the world, right? That's a scary thing to do. Butterflies are delicate, right? There's so many different reasons why you might be feeling that reticence, but like ultimately at the end of the day, it's a question of like knowing why you're doing what you're doing. If you can find ultimate fulfillment in just making something for yourself and never showing it to anyone else, that is a beautiful, amazing thing. And you should absolutely like do it to your heart's content and own it and love it, because that's an amazing thing to have. For me personally, I feel like I spent a long time stopping there. But for me and my experience, my understanding of myself, my ability to know who I am and what I want and what I think is artistically interesting, music gives me a way to communicate something about myself that I have no other way of communicating. I don't know if this is you guys as well. I've always gravitated to music and being creative as a way of expressing myself, because for whatever reason, you know, I'm autistic. I have a whole, for a long part of my life, I had a lot of confusion and difficult stuff going on in terms of my gender identity and sexuality, and not being able to share all of that stuff and connect with people through that stuff. Music was my way of being able to kind of put something deeply personal about myself in front of someone else and have them react and respond and maybe hopefully understand it, and maybe not, but like it was this lifeline between me and the rest of the world and human beings, right? That I didn't have in any other place in my life. And so if you are finding that you are scared to take that leap and put yourself out there, I totally get that. Like, it is a scary thing to do to, yeah, I'm glad this is resonating. It's a scary thing to do to take something that's as deeply personal that you have created with your own intellect and your own creative impulse, call it spirit, energy, whatever you want to, divine spark, whatever it is. You've made something that didn't exist before and you've brought it into being, and it's scary to put that out into the world where people can judge it and to interact with it. But I think being able to um Awesome. Yeah, I'm glad you're starting to release for the first time. That's wicked. Yeah, like that is such a huge step, right? Because there's a kind of way that the way that I approach it anyway is I think that's kind of where a lot of these processes come from for me, right? This idea of creating different sort of structures for myself to sort of work through and think like, okay, I know what my end result is. How can I get there? That's my way of kind of taking some of that emotional side out of it, taking some of that vulnerability out of it, and saying, okay, there is an end result that I want to create, and I'm going to take the steps that it takes to get there. And by the end of it, I'm going to have something that I can put out in the world. And I'll kind of know how people are going to react to it because I've made an effort to position it in a certain way to produce certain responses, right? So, yeah, I kind of guess that that's sort of the big secret is that there's a big kind of like emotional vulnerability thing that is huge to try and take yourself through and to get out there into the world. And I think that hesitation around committing to, okay, here is the song, it's going to do this for me, I'm going to release it on this date, I'm going to put it out into the world. That's such a huge, scary thing. And trying to kind of find ways to make yourself a little path of stepping stones of getting to that point and take some of that vulnerability out of it and make it into a more methodical thing, I think can be a really useful way of getting over some of that overwhelming kind of feeling.